So I feel like I'm in therapy right now. Just being in this chair like this feels good. I'm not in therapy. I'm on the second best thing, which is vacation. Did you ever get asked this question? I'm sure you have. What did you want to be when you were young? What did you dream of being? And usually it's, what is it? Astronaut, Olympian, scientist, firefighter, model, actor, actress, maybe even just a mom or a dad or a husband or a wife. I never really had any fanciful dreams like that when I was young. That might sound depressing or sad, but I grew up in a small town, 2,000 people in Wisconsin. And although my parents told me if I could dream it, I could achieve it. If you believe you can achieve. I was also raised in a very just humble and grounded manner. And I guess I just had a very realistic view into the world and also, very simply understood probabilities. So I basically just got to work. But ironically, I think about that question more now. Not often, but when I do some introspection or some reflection, some inner work or shadow work, as the cool kids call it, I think about it because now I know what makes me happy. I know my likes and my dislikes, my failures and my achievements, my wins and my losses. And if I had to go back and do it all over again, I would become an airline executive. I guess technically that's my backup answer, my realistic answer. I'd love to be like a test pilot, fighter pilot, experimental pilot, even a Formula One driver. Anywhere I can go fast. I just love going fast. Maybe that's why I live my life the way I do. But my realistic answer would be an airline executive or CEO. It's like hitting the lottery if you think about it. It's the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I can't think of any other industry where you can completely disrespect and disregard your customer or the customer experience or customer service. Just forget about it. Doesn't matter. You can get paid in full for a product and not even have to deliver the product. Just like charge money and not even deliver the product and still get paid. That sounds awesome. You can go bankrupt. So run your company into the ground, no consequences, and get bailed out for that. You can not pay back the bailout, or at least 75% of it, and then use that bailout money in a completely different manner than what you originally said, only to buy out contracts, lay off more employees, and pay yourself millions and millions and millions in extra bonuses. And then continue to do the cycle over and over again. Usually in America, at least, if you want to make big money, there has to be big performance or big merit behind it. If you work for Apple, you need to deliver sales, profits, usually both. If you want to make big money with the Golden State Warriors, you need to put up points every night. You have to score. And if you want to make money in the music industry, you have to make hit record after hit record. In every other industry, there has to be performance behind the money, but not in the airline industry. It's the complete opposite. It seems like the worse you do, the more you get paid.
Mr. Calhoun, what is it that you get paid currently?
That's a big number, sir.
Well, let me help you out. It's $32.8 million this year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
That's a 45% increase over last year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
What is it you get paid to do exactly? About your profits. Have your profits increased at all?
I haven't had any profits, sir.
I'm sorry?
I have not had any profits.
Yeah. I think the truth is, Mr. Calhoun, you're not focused on safety. You're not focused on quality. You're not focused on transparency. All of this is in the record, but I think actually you're focused on exactly what you were hired to do, which is that you're cutting corners. You are eliminating safety procedures. You are sticking it to your employees. You are cutting back jobs because you're trying to squeeze every piece of profit you can out of this country, this company. You're strip mining it.
Now, that was the Boeing CEO, I guess technically an aircraft manufacturer, not an airliner, but tomato, tomato. They're all in bed together. Who do you think's buying his products? I wasn't around for the glory years of travel. I heard about it. I've read about it. It sounds like glory. People in coach were treated like they were in first class. People in first class were treated like royalty. It sounds amazing. I, remember as a young kid, I guess in the 90s, still when I would walk on a plane, the pilot would greet you. There'd be smiles when you would depart the plane. You'd get your little toy wings, your replica wings that the pilot would give you, and there was still some semblance of pride and honor in the whole flying experience. But that is gone today, that is for sure. I really started to travel, I'd say probably 2008, 2009 when I started my professional career. And at that time, I didn't know what I was doing. I just bounced around from airline to airline, just took the best flight for the cheapest price, or at least so I thought. And even back then, I remember, even if you're sitting in coach, the stewardesses or flight attendants, I should say, it seems like you would see them 2 or 3 times for drink service on a 2 or 3 hour flight. They'd start almost right away, do an intermediary run, and then do one last run towards the end of the flight. And now I think you maybe get drink service maybe once in coach, maybe? Do you even? I'm lucky if I get it twice if I'm sitting in Delta Comfort on a 3 hour flight. I remember in first class, you would get drinks once, twice, maybe even 3 times before the plane departed. And as soon as it's up in the sky, boom, another one in your hand. At least one meal, at least one. The snack basket was in your face, almost offensively. You'd almost have to push it away. No, I don't need any more snacks. I'm fine. As of the filming of this video, I think I have 1.2 million miles flown with Delta and another couple 100,000 across the other airlines. And I've seen a lot of changes over the years, but they're subtle. They're small. They're almost surreptitious. And that's the way they're designed. And over the long run, that's where they make their impact in totality, in the aggregate. Hotels and airlines, they really have the same playbook. They're in cahoots together. If you're flying, you have to stay somewhere usually. Do you remember the Las Vegas hotel price fixing scandal? Maybe you've never heard of it. It was headline news only for a couple days, and then conveniently it vanished. What was going on was collusionary, criminal, of the highest order. But there was a workaround. There was a clever caveat that kept everyone from any prosecution, and that's that the hotels were not directly talking to each other about pricing. Oh no. What they were doing is they were feeding their data up into the cloud to a third-party data consultant, and that company was analyzing the data from all the major hotels, giving their opinions and insights, and then feeding their final thoughts back to said hotels. So all the hotels had everyone else's data, but they didn't have to talk to each other. So they knew exactly what the other person was going to charge, what they could charge, or what they should charge. And if all the hotels priced their products the same, then consumers would be forced to pay the price. Now, I'm sure that this is not exclusive to Las Vegas, but shockingly, the Vegas ones got caught. And if you've ever gone to any major city, and it's like a random Wednesday night in February, and all the good hotels, let's say, all the marquee hotels have their prices similar, even if they're on opposite ends, miles away. You're like, how is that possible? Well, that's how. And the same thing has been going on with airlines for years.
Attorney General Ellison, if 3 airline companies got together and decided, let's say the management of the airline companies, and decided to reduce flights or to get rid of their frequent flyer program, would that be collusion? Would you pursue that?
It would get our interest.
It would get your interest. What if instead of the companies, their investors did this, or a shell company that all 3 of the airlines were a part of suggested to all 3 companies that they should reduce flights? I'm glad in the first instance it would get your interest up, because that's why we're having the hearing here. We see evidence that this group of investors has conspired, collaborated, colluded, convened, whatever you want to call it. It's still pretty much the same thing, to reduce the outputs of their companies or the companies that they target. It suggests that the aviation companies themselves could manage demand by raising their prices. Now, the problem here is that this is coordination. You guys are putting these documents together, you're sending them to everybody, you're collaborating on the documents, and then you're going to the companies that you've invested in and saying you should do this. You know, here's some of the suggestions for the airline companies: keeping business travel to 2019 levels, capping long-haul flights for leisure at 2019 levels, reducing total flights by 12%. These are in the documents that you send to your members. If we saw anybody else doing this for any other reason, the fact that you think you have a noble reason isn't enough to get you around the law.
And with the bankroller, the shot caller, making sure that only 3 major airlines remain, that there can't be any more, then what can consumers do? If JetBlue and Spirit, I think I'm getting those right. It could be someone else, but I think it's JetBlue and Spirit. I think that merger got turned down by the shot caller. If JetBlue and Spirit, I'll say it again, JetBlue and Spirit is considered a competitive threat to American, to Delta, how bad is Delta and American? Really, really bad. Have you ever heard of the term dead cat bounce? It's a concept that I learned when I was trading stocks, but you can really apply it to different aspects of your life. And what it's meant to describe is uncalled for short-term enthusiasm over a small gain or success when the long run has been absolutely horrific. So if a stock plummets 95%, it just tanks, but has a rebound day of 10%, that will draw some enthusiasm for people that want that stock to go back up. But really, the stock is still down 90%. If you drop a cat off a roof, even a dead cat is going to bounce. That's where it comes from. And you can see this anywhere else in life. You know, for a couple that's been fighting for the last year, they're just not getting along, but they have one good weekend together, right? They go away to the Poconos and she comes back and, oh, he's changed. We just had a great weekend together. He's doing so well. You had one good weekend over the last year. That would be a dead cat bounce. And I'm seeing this perspective in airlines. You know, drinks are back before takeoff in first class. Drinks are back before takeoff. I used to be 3 deep before the plane took off. Now I might get 1 before the plane leaves. Great. I got upgraded to comfort. You got upgraded to comfort. You were in coach, and now you're in coach. Coach to coach is not an upgrade. We are offering basic economy pricing for those budget-minded consumers. Have you heard this one? That's the cheapest fare. What? Like when I used to pay that price, I would get a seat assigned. I would know where I'm sitting. That ticket would be exchangeable, or at least would go for a credit. These are non-refundable, non-returnable. Taking 5 steps back and 1 step forward, and then praising that 1 step forward is not a win. Those are 4 huge losses, and that's a dead cat bounce. So let me tell you about my recent flight experience, and then I'll tell you why things are about to get much, much worse. But you have to hear this, and I have so many like this, and I'm sure you do as well. So I am Delta Platinum this year, which is the second most elite. The most elite, Delta Diamond, I was for years. It's almost impossible to reach. I didn't travel a lot last year, or fly a lot, I should say, so I'm only Platinum this year. But I'm a million miler, I'm Platinum, and I have all their credit cards. I have 2 Delta Amexes, and even with all of that, I only get 1 free bag. I mean, this wasn't too long ago when you were flying domestically. The limit for bags was 50 pounds. And if you had clout with the airlines, they would allow you up to 75 per bag, 75 pounds per bag. now I'm lucky if those rules apply internationally. In fact, they don't. And I like to travel to the Caribbean quite a bit and Mexico. And those conveniently are not international flights, even though they're different countries. So I'm allowed one bag, and I have to pay for the second one ahead of time. So there's $50. And I get to the airport, and I weigh the first bag, and it's 54 pounds. So it's over. And she goes, you're going to have to take some stuff out. And I refuse to do that, okay? I will not waste your time if you're behind me. I'll take my lumps, and I will just pay it. But I say, you know what? Let's just see what the second bag weighs in at. Maybe it'll be a little less, and together they'll be 100 pounds. Nope, can't do that. Bags have to be 50. You have to take some stuff out. The bag doesn't have to be exactly 50 pounds, but they're just unwilling to work with you at all. Straight talking points, no wiggle room, whatever. So I said, okay, let's just weigh the second bag. Second bag comes in at 49 pounds. You'll have to take some stuff out, she says. I said, what? You have to take some stuff out or you'll have to pay the fee. I said, take some stuff out of where? One bag into the other, she says. I said, if I take it out from one and put it in the other, it's still going to be over. She didn't even understand simple mathematics. So long story short, I had to pay an extra $100 for that bag that was over 4 pounds. So I paid $50 ahead of time, then an extra $100. That one bag cost me $150. Bag fees are absolutely insane right now. I think they make, the industry, I think makes, what, $7 billion a year on bag fees alone? It's crazy. They're out of control. So I get past security, which I won't even discuss. I'll leave it at that. And I get to the Delta Lounge. And there's a Delta hostess or host or concierge outside with a tablet taking reservations. That's how crowded it is inside. There's a wait list for the lounge. The lounge is over capacity. I have only witnessed this since last year. What does it take to get into these lounges these days? Nothing? So I'm definitely not going to do that. I'll just go over to the Centurion Lounge. It's 2 concourses over. It'll take me 15 minutes to get over there, but that will be a nice reprieve. I get to the American Express Centurion Lounge, and it's more crowded than the Delta Lounge. I'm just this is supposed to be one of the most exclusive airport lounges in the world. How is this place so packed? Well, it turns out that airlines don't make any money. Well, obviously, they go bankrupt. But any money that they do make comes from their point system. They make zero money flying. In fact, the actual operation of flying is a lost leader for them. Where they make their money, if they are to make any, is in their loyalty program, in their points program. And the way they make money is by selling their points to American Express, Chase, whomever. And of course, in order to make their money back, American Express, Hertz, whomever, they have to get something for those points. So they want people in their lounges. It's a whole ecosystem that is fascinating, actually. Well, it's aggravating and infuriating, but it's fascinating. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube on it if you want to go do a deep dive. But now it makes sense. These airlines, the only way they make money is by keeping us addicted to their terrible product and then selling our addiction to these other companies, and it all is an ecosystem. It's broken, okay? It's completely broken. So I pass on the American Express Lounge, the Centurion Lounge, and I just go to a restaurant, which I've been doing for years now, okay? Airport lounges, you have to pay extra for just a decent drink. The food is terrible. They're overcrowded. I'm over them. So I get to the gate, and now you have to be at the gate 20 minutes early before departure. They only board 40 minutes before departure, sometimes 35 minutes. And then you have to be there 20 minutes before, or they can just shut the door or give your ticket to someone else. So that's a 15-minute window to board that flight. That's crazy. And then as I'm landing, there is severe turbulence. Now, I can't remember the last time I've had turbulence on a flight. It's been years, many, many years. And I just think that the aircraft, the technology has gotten better. But I remember when I first started flying, I would experience it quite a bit. You know, like severe turbulence where the plane just drops out of the sky, right? Where like when you're on a roller coaster and like you just start falling and you get that feeling in your stomach. And I always judge the severity of the turbulence by the people in the plane. Like when people are screaming, which I've encountered before, and there's oohs and ahs and ohs, yeah, it's bad. This one wasn't quite that bad, but it was enough to definitely get me extremely concerned. And I, of course, can't help myself. And I go on the in-flight infotainment and I pull up the aircraft. And what kind of aircraft is it? Yeah, we all know. We all know. 737. At that point, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't extremely nervous. And I definitely made peace with myself and the universe, and just in case anything happened. Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. Flight lands. I get here. The other person who I'm supposed to meet, their flight gets canceled. 12 hours ahead of time, just canceled. Bad weather is what they say. This part of the country doesn't have any bad weather, but whatever. Next flight out isn't until 2 more days. And it's a 4-day getaway. So that basically just kills everything. So it's like Saturday night, okay? And this airline has completely shattered my getaway. And at the very least, I want my money back. I want a refund. I don't want a credit because it's not my airline and it doesn't do me any good. I want the money back for the ticket that I paid for. So it's like 11 p.m. and I call and I get put on hold, I think for an hour and a half. Eventually, I think I fell asleep and I don't know what happened. Phone died or whatever, but never talked to anyone. Yeah, the flying experience is just completely broken. And I am sure that you have stories much worse than this. This is just my last flight. Like, this isn't an amalgamation of all my bad experiences. This is just my last flight. This is just like status quo now. It's absolutely out of control. The whole thing is broken. And I'm not even sure it's fixable. Well, I thought it was. And I actually made this originally to be an exciting video because I wanted to talk about the passenger rights or the new traveler airline rights that are coming into effect or have gone into effect, where if an airline has a flight delayed by 3 hours domestically, it's automatic refund. Not credit, refund. Awesome. Internationally, 6 hours. Where credits now are good for 5 years. Normally they were good for 1 year, now it's 5. Awesome, right? If bags aren't delivered within 12 hours, you get your bag fee back. Which, I mean, still, bags lost or delayed is like the worst thing ever, but still, it's good. Airlines have to have someone on staff and customer service 24/7. I mean, you would think that this is commonplace for a global airline with flights all around the world at any given time to have a customer service team staffed 24/7, but nope, they weren't, but it's mandated now. So I'm like, these are great changes. And there's a lot more. Families won't be charged fees to sit next to each other. You can look it up, or I'll try to find a link and leave it in the description. But I started thinking, wait, if prices are insanely high now, what are they going to be after all this gets taken into effect? Because if you think the airlines are going to pay for this, oh, you are sorely mistaken. Look what happened in California with the fast food $15 minimum wage. Those prices just get passed on. If you've worked in supply chain, if you've worked for a manufacturer and distribution or worked in sales, you know how price increases work, they always get passed on. They start at the raw material, they go to the manufacturer passes it on to distributor passes it on to the end user. Price increases always get passed on to the consumer. So if credits are now good for 5 years, well, that's actually going to make prices go higher because there's a percentage of people who just weren't using their credits and will let them expire. Now, airlines have to take into account the mathematics for having those linger out there for 4 more years. That's costly. Same thing with automatic refunds. While those originally went into credits, airlines would get those credits automatically, which means airlines are now going to charge more for their tickets since they aren't guaranteed the credits. So if prices are sky high, pardon the pun, and they're about to get significantly higher, mark my words, and the airlines can work together to keep demand high, supply low, the experience gets strip mined more and more each day. I can't name any other industry that's gotten worse over the last 40 years. After 40 years, flights are slower. Have you seen these insane flight paths these pilots are taking now and how slow the planes are going? Like, shoes have gotten more comfortable. Computers have gotten faster. Planes have gotten slower. It's just so broken, and I'm not sure there's any fixing it.